a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll?
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome to another installment of the 2005 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We are here from Richmond for round number 27 of 36, here on this year's calendar for another exciting race as we get set for the championship chase. Just 10 races remaining, including today, for your title run and the season as a whole. We take you trackside to take a look at the starting lineup for today's race. Starting on pole is going to be the 12 of Ryan Newman. I believe that is his third straight pole so far in the last little span here, and Mike Bliss will be starting side by side with him in second in the 81 car. Looking down the rest of the order, as Jamie McMurray will be starting in third from the 40, Tony Stewart will be in fourth place in the 20, a good qualifying run for one of the championship contenders. Christian Elder will be starting in the fifth spot in the 0, and Kenny Wallace in sixth. Robbie Gordon will be in 7th place in the 31 car, and Bobby Labonte in 8th place. Kurt Busch, your points leader, will be in 9th, and Jeff Gordon starts this race in 10th. Johnny Sauter will be in the 11th position, and Jerry Nadeau in 12th. 13th goes to Scott Wimmer in the 23, and Sterling Marlin will be in 14th, his teammate side by side with him. Dave Blaney in the 15th spot in the 77 car, and Jeff Burton will start in the 16th position. 17th goes to Kyle Busch, and 18th, Carl Edwards. 19th will be Kevin Harvick in the 29, as 20th goes to John Wood in the 6th. David Rudiman will be in 21st place, and Jason Leffler in 22nd. Casey Atwood will be in the 23rd spot, and Casey Kane will start in 24th. Greg Biffle in the 25th position, and Michael Waltrip 26th. Ricky Hendrick will be starting in 27th place, and Matt Kenseth in 28th. John Andretti will be in the 29th spot, and Jeremy Mayfield in 30th. David Green will be in 31st in the 21, and Brian Vickers in 32nd. 33rd goes to Scott Riggs, and 34th, Dale Jarrett. 35th will be Eric Norris, and 36th, Don Thompson Jr. 37th goes to Mark Martin in the 06, Todd Bodine in 38th. 39th will be Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ron Hornaday Jr. in 40th. Morgan Shepherd in 41st, and Chad Little in the 28 rounds out the field in 42nd. Field getting ready to go here. We'll take you to the command as the most famous words in motorsports will be uttered in just a short few moments here from Richmond.
Drivers, start your engines.
42 stock cars roar to life as always here from Richmond. 120 laps in today's event with Ryan Newman on the pole. And the one thing worth considering most at this racetrack especially, we saw it earlier in the season when Bobby Labonte took his streak-ending victory here. This racetrack is difficult to navigate at the pit cycles. We see a lot of cautions when we get those pit stops under green, and it results in a lot of scrambling as well as problems under yellow trying to pit at this racetrack as well. Just pit road really dangerous at Richmond, and a difficult sort of pit road to navigate for sure, especially with that pit entry. So could see some more pit stop chaos at this racetrack as we've seen in previous events. Without further ado, Ryan Newman leads the field off of turn 4 here, your race leader, and we will take you right to the start here from Richmond. 120 laps, 12 car from the lead, green flag in the air.
And one massive jump from Ryan Newman as he heads down to turn 1. 1 car length separates him from Mike Bliss as they go down the backstretch.
First set of corners is clean as a 12, and Newman takes the top spot from pole. Bliss settles into second place. Richmond a tight racetrack to race at, though, and Bliss is immediately going to try and go for that race lead as he ducks underneath the 12 into turn 1. Side by side and out of turn 2, Mike Bliss makes quick work of that Altel Pontiac, and he is into first.
Meanwhile, Christian Elder, he started P6. He's now drugged that car all the way up to P3. This time by, can he get up to Ryan Newman?
Good run opening for Elder out of that front-running qualifying position as he pulls up into the 3rd spot. Rounding into turn 3 as Newman chops the nose off the 0 car to hold on to that 2nd spot. Single file through the top 5, although Labonte going to go to the inside of Robbie Gordon for 4th down the front stretch. Close racing early, and a lot of drivers trying to find that groove on the bottom lane at the moment. A lot of field shifting early on, as we'll see people settle into the groove in this first run and try to find their race cars early on in the going. Newman still putting pressure on Mike Bliss for the lead. Bobby Labonte, winner of the spring race here, looking for 3rd place on Christian Elder in the 0 car. Down to the inside now, Ryan Newman looking for the race lead yet again. Side by side with Bliss in the 81 car as they round turn number 2, and down the backstretch, Tony Stewart might have been caught in the middle of some 3 wide back there for just a moment, but they sort that out behind. Dead heat at the line, give it to the 12 car by probably a couple thousandths there at the line. Bliss thought about a crossover there into turn 3. Looked low, but Newman covered him off well. But he's going to have the run to the inside out of turn 4 this time and try to retake the lead. Hard-fought battle up front so far. These two have been trading the lead back and forth, and Mike Bliss takes first yet again. It's still Labonte in 3rd, Elder in 4th, and Sauter looking to maybe take that spot away from the 0 car. It's been a good run for the 68 early in the running today so far as well. Jeff Gordon sits just behind. Meanwhile, your main championship leaders, Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch. Ooh, bit of contact there as Busch and Harvick made some door-to-door noise there on the back stretch. Kurt Busch struggling early in the running as he's starting to drop some positions on this run, barely even in the top 20 right now. Crossed the line in 19th there. He drops down to 20th behind the 23 of Wimmer as they head down the backstretch yet again. And just to find his way back onto the inside. Top lane really not working out early on here. Top 4 all under a blanket. Still Bliss out front. Newman, Labonte, and Elder all right next to each other, as well as Sauter getting pulled up into this mix from the 5th spot as well. Side by side for 3rd as Elder looks to get around the 18 of Labonte. A great run by the 0 so far today, and he looks to take the fight to the race leaders as he enters turn 1 side by side with Ryan Newman for 2nd. Might have gotten a little loose on the bottom there though, and Newman gets back clear on the outside. Now under fire from Labonte, who looks to the low line for the third spot into turn 1. Door-to-door for that position as they head out of turn 2. And Labonte back into third. Here's McMurray trying to take away the fourth spot from Zero Car. And Robbie Gordon may be looking to kick him out of the top 5 as he slots in the bottom as well. Down the backstretch here. Still side by side for that 5th position, and Robbie Gordon will dispose of the 0 now and leaves him up to the clutches of the 24 of Jeff Gordon now. Hendrick has found his way up the order as well. He enters the top 5 after starting a long way down the order today. I believe he was as low as 27th to start this race. Bobby Labonte has taken 2nd from Newman and now makes a move to the inside of his teammate for the lead. And the 18 up and into first ahead of the 81. And he gets clear in turn 3 as the order continues to shift. Here's McMurray down on the bottom trying to get the 81. Might have an opportunity to pass the 18. Both of the leaders got very loose there in turn 1. But Bobby Labonte will stay clear from first. It is just an all-out dogfight in the spots for the top 5 right now, with all of these drivers so close up front. Top 3 looks completely different than it has all day, as Bobby Labonte, McMurray, and Robbie Gordon are now your top 3 runners after Bliss and Newman drop down a couple spots, having lost 1st and 2nd place. 20 laps completed already as the laps continue to wind down here, with the 18 up front. Mike Bliss trying to spook Robbie Gordon up the hill for 3rd. Got the nose underneath and stayed there as he tries to recover another position. Still side by side for that position as they enter turn 3. Ryan Newman putting pressure on Gordon for what is P5 and will take that spot. Robbie Gordon fighting strong on the outside of the 81. And Mike Bliss up and into 3rd place, although Robbie Gordon's still fighting back on the outside, not giving up just yet. And now the 81 will be clear for the 3rd position as Newman slips into 4th. Looking at your points leader, Kurt Busch, who found his way back to the bottom a handful of laps ago, has moved back up into the 15th position. Solid run for him so far. Only championship contenders higher than him at the moment is the 5 of Hendrick and the 24 of Gordon. Ooh, man, Ryan Newman almost chopped the nose off of the 24 there into turn 3. That opens the door for Jeff Gordon to get underneath him for the 4th spot, and also Mike Bliss for P3. And as they head down the backstretch into turn 3, the 24, still not quite clear of Bliss, but gets him off of turn 4 now. And McMurray looking to make a lead change here as Labonte leaves the bottom open for the 40 car into turn 1. And Jamie McMurray up and into the lead now. 4th different leader so far today in just 27 laps at the line, though Bobby Labonte not going to give up that lead too easily as he is back underneath McMurray after just a lap. And off of turn 2, makes quick work of the 40 and is back into 1st place. It's been a rebound season for Labonte for sure, obviously snapping that 100-race-long winless streak at Richmond earlier in the season, and also led by far the most laps at Texas a couple of weeks ago, in fact, the last week in Cup. has had a very good season up to this point, and despite the fact that he's been around the same position in points, it's felt a lot better for him for sure. We talked to him prior to this weekend and asked him what the approach would be. It was just do what we did last time out at this racetrack and do what we did last week, lead a lot of laps. That 18 team has looked really confident over the last couple weeks, and it's showed for sure out front once again here at Richmond and looking very strong as of late. And continuing to lead laps as he has done over the last few races. Out front here from Richmond, looking down the rest of the top 5 of the order, his Gibbs teammate Bliss still looking strong in the 5th position. Hasn't fallen too far down the order at the moment. And of course, going back, Kurt Busch, your points leader, in 14th, working on Kenny Wallace for P13 on the only other Gibbs car. Tony Stewart sits in 16th position after starting this race a little bit of a ways up the field. It's been a midway struggle for him so far after the early running of this race. And the rest of the championship contenders, of course, Casey Kane has found himself in a bit of a pickle, running further down the order. He sits in 23rd. That is your 4th place in points driver. And of course, Jeff Gordon sitting in 3rd at the moment. In fact, 2nd now after getting past McMurray a handful of laps ago, is the highest of the main championship contenders. That 24 car sits 5th in the standings heading into this weekend at Richmond. Still all Bobby Labonte up front. Jeff Gordon gonna maybe be under attack here for McMurray into turn 1, but the 40 will stay in line. Top 3 right nose to tail as they head down the backstretch right now. All 3 of these guys very quick and bottling up on one another as they round turn 4. Gordon might have a chance for the lead here, but the 24 will stay patient into turn 1, stays in line with the 18. Murray a little bit up off the bottom there in turn 2 that time. Everybody in the back still keeping it clean so far through this race, approaching 1/3 of the way through, as here is Jeff Gordon for the race lead on the bottom of the 18 of Labonte. Mike Bliss also makes a move into 3rd behind these two as he passes McMurray. And Jeff Gordon up and into 1st. Labonte right on the back bumper down the front stretch, but will not quite mount a counterattack just yet. He stays in line with the 24. Kevin Harvick making his way up the order now as he looks to take away the 4th spot from the 40 of Jamie McMurray. Side by side for that position as they head down the front stretch, and Harvick up a spot into P4 now.
As it's Chevy, 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 and Chevy, your top 4.
Chevrolet looking strong in this race so far. Kevin Harvick moves up and into 4th to make it a top 4 of all Chevrolets. Here's Labonte for the lead into turn 1. Side by side down the back, these two at a dead heat as Jeff Gordon tries to fight back on the outside. Harvick looking to take away 3rd. That 29 coming alive in the back half of this run. And Labonte up and into 1st. Harvick might have a shot to try to pass Gordon for 2nd place into turn 1. Doesn't quite get all the way there, though, but the 18 will take 1st.
Clip the apron a little bit, trying to make some room there. Seeing a lot of guys doing that this week.
Yeah, these race cars have always been particularly loose at this racing facility. We see a lot of guys getting squirrely in these battles, slipping up off the bottom. And a lot of guys getting the apron as a result of the fact that it's difficult to steer these things at this racetrack. Richmond is particularly a very hard racetrack to hit your marks, especially with the curved front stretch. Gordon and Harvick dropping off of the 18 a little bit here as Labonte begins to pull a small gap from that race lead. Bliss and McMurray side by side for fourth.
And the difficulty of this track is what really makes this such a comers and goers underdog race. Aside from the tough pit road, you get in the throttle a little bit too early, and you're spinning the car. You get in the throttle a little too late, and you're losing 5 spots. There isn't a lot of margin of error here.
Absolutely not. It's why it's a racetrack that's really renowned by the drivers for one that they really love to run this place, and the fact that it's such a challenge for these guys to get around this place, and some of the top dogs always end up coming out on top early in the running. It's difficult to be consistent at this racetrack for sure, and you see a lot of standout performances that tail off in the back end of the race, or any sort of deal with that, but as of right now, still a lot of familiar faces up front, the whole top 5 for that matter.
Is that Elder fighting for a top 10 right there?
Yeah, Elder's been running up top 10. He was in the top 5 for a lot of the early portion of this race, got as high as second for a brief moment, I believe. And a good run out of that 0 car so far today. Also, Mark Martin, who started this race a long way down the order, has found his way into the top 10. And we're going to see pit stops now. This is the point where these guys look to navigate this treacherous pit road. The 18 race leader of Bobby Labonte is into the pits from the top spot. Jeff Gordon stays out and leads an extra lap. Imagine he'll probably be coming in a lap or 2 here. And in fact, it'll be this time as Harvick in the 29 will stay out with his RCR teammate Robbie Gordon in the 31. Those two stick on the racetrack.
Arguably more treacherous than the pit road, though, is the exit of pit road.
Yeah, getting off of the pits at this racetrack is more dangerous than any. There's a reason we see a lot of cautions at this racetrack due to this pit lane. Harvick still on the racetrack. He takes lap number 52 from first place. A couple other cars will stay out with him. That's going to be the 17 of Kenseth. And tell you what, 17 and 29 especially, we've seen a lot of these guys staying out long during these pit cycles. Been a lot of varied strategy as we see both John Wood and Mike Bliss leaving pit road with the 17 right in front. And Kenseth will peel off, as does the race leader, Kevin Harvick, into the pit lane from first.
Everyone keeping it relatively clean, so far at least.
Yeah, racetrack's still green. A lot of drivers leaving the pits, of course. As Todd Bodine and Chad Little rejoin the racetrack, there's a 25 and 23. Jeff Gordon backing onto the track now as well. And tell you what, I believe like 24 lost a lot of ground in the pits.
Might have gotten cut off by someone.
Probably got into an incident in the pits, absolutely. And coming out here as Harvick and Labonte are going to duel for the lead coming out of the pit lane. And the 29 of Harvick has first leaving pit road, if I am not mistaken. As that was the 16 and 43, the very last pitters, just now leaving their pit boxes. Harvick blocking the bottom here. Goodness me.
And Robbie Gordon really put his nose out there. Might go for the 2-for-1 special here.
Harvick cuts him off for the lead and holds him off for P1. That was a big block on Labonte by the 29 of Harvick down the backstretch as he takes away the lead from the 18. I believe the 2-car retired from the race due to an incident on pit road. Might have even got the pit wall? Oh, yeah. What in the world? Oh, looking like he got turned into the pit lane by the 55, got a piece of the pit wall, and into the 40 of McMurray as well. So the racetrack stays green with that incident being in the pit lane. Wall is forced to retire.
I can't imagine NASCAR is going to be too happy with Mayfield for that won't move.
Yeah, a bit of a ridiculous incident there, but racetrack stays green, and of course Jeff Gordon had some problems with his pit stop, drops all the way down to 41st. Not the run that they wanted to have, given that they are in the championship fight down in his final 10 races. Kevin Harvick still leads here. McMurray's the one in P2 now.
And it's going to be really tough to pass Harvick with those 5-lap pressure tires.
Yeah, Harvick stayed out 3 or 4 extra laps there. You said it. That 29 is going to be really quick on the longer run especially, and the fact that he leapfrogged all these guys despite the fact that he stayed out so long, that's a great strategy move by the 29, and holding on to that lead now.
And just as good as the strategy as the setup for being able to keep the car fast enough to hold that front.
Absolutely, on the cold tires, threw that big block on Labonte and held on to the lead. So it was a great move for him to take that top spot and defend it with his life. Labonte catching up.
Looks like he's going to have to do it again, though.
18 right on the back bumper into turn 1. Looked low, Harvick a little loose. 29 holds first as they head through 3 and 4. And pulls away from him on corner exit to prevent any sort of run down the front stretch. Still a tightly knit battle through the entire top 6 a part of this group. Again, Ricky Hendrick and Mark Martin both with very good recovery drives. Christian Elder is still a part of this top 10. He takes away 9th from Mike Bliss in the 81 car. Matt Kenseth, another driver on the fresher tires who stayed out a long time. He's into the 11th position ahead of his teammate John Wood and looking to maybe gain some more, as those fresher tires are going to matter for him longer on this run.
I mean, that's the name of the game here at Richmond, is how can you keep your stuff together?
Absolutely.
Because it usually isn't the fastest guy that wins this race. It's the guy that can keep the car the cleanest.
Absolutely, and not only that, the driver that has it at the very end is usually the driver who wins these things, because we've seen a lot of defensive drives at this racetrack, we've seen a lot of comeback drives as well, and of course a lot of underdog drives as well, with how many times we've seen issues in the pits at this racing facility. But it's definitely been just impressive drives get manufactured out of this racetrack for sure. Just past halfway here, Harvick in the lead. McMurray looked for the second spot there into turn 1. Labonte holds him off for the second position and is still trying to maybe find a way around the 29 of Harvick for first. McMurray has another run down the front stretch, pulls all the way back up, still staying patient. That's another thing, is that patience matters a lot at this racetrack, and you see when Harvick got really loose like that, that opened the door for Labonte to get underneath him, but the 18 stays in line. And try to maybe set him up for the front stretch this time. But Harvick holds him off yet again. Still really seeming like a struggle for the 18 of Labonte to pass this 29 for first. And given the fact that Labonte was one of the earliest pitters, not a surprise that the 29's keeping him in his mirror right now. But of course, you also look at the fact that at Richmond, fuel is the more important factor at this racetrack, and the fact that tires don't really matter a whole lot for lap time at this place. Maybe a little bit given the fact that the overall lap time at this racetrack is especially short, so you can expect the drop-off to not be as significant from a glance. But you do lose a couple of tenths on tires, of course, but it's just not quite enough as much as a lot of other racetracks on this calendar. So maybe just a matter of Harvick maybe wanting a cleaner pit lane, trying to pit that late as well. And also, of course, strategy calls. If you get a caution in the middle of that pit cycle, it really matters when the 29 ends up front and all of his competitors are down pit road to catch him off guard. And if that yellow comes out, he'll be set up perfectly for it.
Yep, that's just the long and the short of it. You gotta... This is a track that separates the men from the boys.
Absolutely. No better way of putting it. Just inside 50 laps to go now, as the 29 still comfortably up front, but not without a challenge from the 18, as Harvick has been continually defending that inside line into turn 1. And who can really blame him, given how much of a passing opportunity this front stretch is. Side by side for the third position, that's Robbie Gordon and Jamie McMurray back there for third. And the 31 car pulls up into P1 now in front of the 40. Christian Elder's dropped down to 11th now, as a couple of the Roush boys in the form of Edwards and Kenseth are in the top 10. 17 up to 9th, as he might have a chance to get 8 from Bliss in a handful of laps if he can keep that pace up. Ryan Newman and Ricky Hendrick battling fiercely. That is for the 5th position.
I can tell you there are very few drivers you'd less rather see in your rearview mirror than Ryan Newman.
Absolutely, and again, Ricky Hendrick, who started this race, and I believe it was 27. I'm going to fact check that, actually. Yes, it was. It's been another race where Ricky Hendrick and the 5 team have really focused on setting that race car up for the race and sacrificed starting position to do so. Tell you what, it's worked out for him quite a few times over the last handful of races, although he's had some poor results that knocked him out of the pole.
I think we got lap traffic there.
Definitely do. That is the 51 of Eric Norris in front of Harvick in the 29. First lap car, that's the 41st place runner. And would be the first car to fall lap down as Harvick will duck low into turn number 3. Norris lets him go. And Labonte should follow suit in a lap or so. And in fact, tried to get underneath in turn 1. Norris taking his line.
Almost turned him.
Bonnie not wanting to lose too much time to that 29, who he knows is going to be faster on this longer run, but Norris really working on him there. Nonetheless, 18 going to make not too lengthy work of the 51, and he moves back past him. Although Norris staying there on the outside right now. Norris really giving some favors to Childress here, but 18 gets clear off of turn 4 that time. Now here's Robbie Gordon to make work of him. Mark Martin falling down a little bit as Ricky Hendrick was behind him for a couple of laps there. Moves back past the 06 and back into 6th. Newman's in P5 in the 12. 40 laps to go now.
You know, that 51 team is looking at going full-time next year.
That they have.
Maybe trying to do some politicking to get some better equipment?
Who knows? Definitely could see it. Currently, Harvick's still out front. Next 2 lap cars are going to be Hornaday and Shepard as Jeff Gordon's up there still trying to work his way through heavy traffic to stay on the lead lap. A lot of lap cars coming up for the race leaders if this thing stays green. Still expecting one more pit stop in this race. Might come around a lap 100 or so, maybe earlier than that, we'll see.
Yeah, we're currently looking at about lap 95 to 105 for your next round of pit stops. Somewhere in that range.
So we'll see if they keep it clean on that run, especially with more field spreads, so more of the racetrack covered by this field. Labonte's still trying to find a way around the 29, which he has been doing this entire run. But just Harvick with the slightly better stuff, despite the fact that he's probably been underdriving it a bit here, still has been keeping the 18 at bay, but for how long will remain the question, as Labonte has stayed right on him this entire time.
On him, he might try and go under him there. Well, did not quite have the run.
Tried to take it low, but maybe set up the run out of 4 again down the front stretch, but just not quite close enough. And again, Labonte's been biding his time pretty much this entire run, as that was contact there. Norris fighting with the 40 of McMurray. Goodness me. Norris getting a little impatient, pulling away from McMurray down the front stretch that time.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be quite a few people in the spotters stand that aren't fans of that move.
McMurray ducks back underneath the 51 to try to repass him, as Norris is still falling victim to a lot of these lead lap cars. Labonte dropped off of Harvick a couple tenths that last lap and a half or so. Teammate Robbie Gordon is now right on the back bumper of the 18. Has a chance to maybe make it a Childress 1-2, not too far off, but Labonte puts a gap to him that last set of corners. Harvick still comfortably leading this race.
You know, Harvick's been a low-key championship contender this entire season. I think that bears repeating, and this really could thrust him into actually in the conversation.
Especially given that Kurt Busch has had an okay but not great day. The 01 car has been fighting on the back end of the top 10 pretty much this entire race. And Kevin Harvick sits in 6th in points this race, lost a position in the standings to Gordon after last week at Texas. really has a chance to try to jump back into it. But right as we're talking about him, here's Labonte in the 18, who's finally found an opening to the inside, and he is going to try and retake the lead from this 29. Harvick fighting back on the outside. 30 laps to go at the line last time. 18's going to have the nod for the lead at the stripe. Trying to take that front spot from the 29 car here. Lap traffic looming ahead. Still door-to-door for that lead.
But the thing is, the last thing you want to do, we're coming to about 3, 4, or 5 laps away from the pit cycle. You do not want to be side by side going into the pits. I'm sure Kenny Wallace will tell you that.
Absolutely. Labonte clears Harvick for the lead and immediately puts a gap on him. You can imagine that that's not surprising given how long Labonte was sitting right behind the 29 for that lead. Seemed a little bit faster pretty much this entire run, but now has lap traffic to contend with right in front of him. That's Hornaday Jr. in the 78. Looking underneath is Labonte. Can't quite get all the way there just yet. That allows Harvick to close in.
You know, that Denver mattress car, that car doesn't... One of the few cars in this grid that isn't being crafted in Charlotte. That team has to take their hauler all the way out from Denver every week.
Sorry to cut you off here. A yellow flag's going to come out as Chad Little has a tire down on the backstretch. That's going to bring out the yellow flag here. First of the day, late in this race, right before our pit cycle. And caution is out.
You think pit road is crazy under green?
This is going to be the deal, as these guys aren't going to be able to get checked up here. As Harvick and Labonte are going to have to stay out an extra lap. That allows Robbie Gordon into the pit lane here. A couple more drivers, in fact, are going to stay out an extra time around, maybe trying to make sure that they make it on fuel. Interesting strategy call for a lot of the field, as is always the case here. Robbie Gordon leads the field down the first cycle of pit stops.
I mean, this last run is also short enough to where you could start really thinking about taking 2.
It is going to be 2 tires from pretty much everybody here. And Mike Bliss left the pits in front of the 31. In fact, he took fuel only, I believe. Excuse me while I do some officiating stuff. Yeah, going to be some interesting strategy calls here as Labonte's going to stay out another lap. Mark Martin's still on the racetrack as well. Just want to see who it was in the pit lane here that was, I believe it's just going to be the 40 and 12 that need that little penalty clear there. We'll take you to intermission here from Richmond after everything here gets sorted out. Lucky Dog goes to the 51 of Eric Norris, and we will be right back. Back from intermission here at Richmond as Robbie Gordon will inherit the race lead after the pit stop chaos. It is going to be 19 laps to go as the pace car peels in. McMurray, Newman, Kenseth, and Busch, your top 5. As we take you to the green. Back underway here. A great start from the 40 of McMurray down the front stretch here.
Doesn't quite have a nose, though.
Had a shot at it, tried it at a corner exit, but didn't quite have the run. No harm, no foul, and playing it a little bit patient. And here he comes down the front stretch. Jamie McMurray for the race lead. Newman right behind in the 12. The top 3 have left the field behind. The 17 of Kenseth and also Kurt Busch both came into the pits again. Issues on the fueling for those guys. Here is Newman for the lead now. That's championship implications with Kurt Busch in the pits. Newman takes first away from the 40. John Andretti into the top 5 in the 43 car. Man, this race has turned on its head late. And the pole sitter is back up front after all of it.
The question is, do either of these guys, does the 40 and the 31 have anything for Newman? It seems like he's just walking away from him.
Trying to put the gap to the 40 and 31. Ricky Hendrick a little bit of a ways behind in 4th. Ryan Newman moves up into the 5th position in the 20. Seeing Casey Kane pick up some spots back there as well, which he desperately needed. He moves into the top 15.
Where did he come from?
Kane trying to salvage a bit of a rough day, especially with Kurt Busch way down the order.
In the pits, and Jeff Gordon with a disastrously awful pit stop.
Busch a lap down in 41st now. Wouldn't even be the lucky dog if another caution came out. That belongs to the 17 of Kenseth, who also had to bring it down pit road a second time. Tony Stewart is into 4th place. This 20 of all the championship contenders is looking perfect right now as he moves up into P4. McMurray drops a spot to the 31 as Robbie Gordon moves into the 2nd position. Does he have anything for Newman at the end of this race?
You know, Robbie Gordon always has a knack for winning races right at the end.
Closed up right on the back bumper. He might have a shot at him as they head down the backstretch. It'll be 10 laps to go this time by. Ryan Newman first, Robbie Gordon second. McMurray dropping off, and both of the 2 championship contenders, Stewart and Ricky Hendrick, running faster than both of the race leaders right now, as well as the 40 of McMurray. But they are probably going to run out of time without a caution. Hendrick still dueling with his championship rival Stewart as he ducks underneath for 4th yet again.
And
Kyle
here
Busch
comes Kyle Busch.
also into this mix. He is in 6th. Casey Kane has found his way into 11th place. At 38 on a mission late as well. Newman trying to hang on. Gordon trying to run him down. Has a run down the front stretch. Might have a chance for it. He looks low into turn 1. Newman covers him off. Beautiful block by the 12 to hold him at bay. Ricky Hendrick is still trying to catch up to these race leaders, but again, I think he's running out of time. Biff
Thing is, you got
late.
You have 2 of the most aggressive drivers in the lead, so I'd almost want to be in. I wouldn't want to be Jamie McMurray, I'll tell you that.
Not a bad call. 5 laps to go for Newman in the 12 as he continues to try to hold off Robbie Gordon for this win. Newman hasn't won a race since the 2nd round of this season at Rockingham. It's been a topsy-turvy year for him. trying to close one out here from Richmond. 4 to go now. Gordon still with a car length gap to the 12, trying to close up that margin and make a final attack. Ricky Hendrick has ran down these leaders. He's already almost on the back bumper of McMurray for 3rd. And here goes Robbie Gordon for the race lead.
And I don't think there's a single person on the racetrack that likes this more than Ricky Hendrick, seeing this in his front bumper.
Gordon off of 4, has the lead with 2 laps to go. He's clear. Newman drops to 2nd. Does the 12 have anything for him? Hendrick trying to take 3rd from McMurray while these two will duke it out for the win. Off of 4, last lap here. Does Newman have a chance to try to steal it back? 1 lap to go here from Richmond for Robbie Gordon in the 31.
If Newman's gonna take this thing, he's got to try now.
Robbie Gordon into turn 3 for the final time. He's got it made. The 31 to victory lane here from Richmond. He wins it. Ricky Hendrick all the way up to 3rd, a valiant effort. And a great run for the championship as he finishes staggeringly well. Kurt Busch will come home in 41st place, just about as badly as this day could have ended up for him, as that championship buffer that he built up absolutely crumbles.
And they're wrecking on
pit entry. Harvick, who looked in control of that race late, comes home in 25th. The 24 car of Jeff Gordon finishes in 29th place. And the 38 of Casey Kane finished in the top 10. He got as high as 9th. So a lot of these main championship contenders had some great runs at the end of this thing. And Robbie Gordon wins it here from Richmond. That'll be his 3rd win this season. Just about stole it from the 12 of Newman, and he takes the victory here today. Hard-fought battle for him, and he had been so close to the lead quite a few times, had been up there in the shadow of the leaders pretty much the entire race. And here today, takes it when it matters most. His 3rd win on the season. And he'll be loving that one for sure. But that'll do it here from Richmond with Robbie Gordon, your victor. Next week, it'll be race number 28, which, let me check the schedule real quick so I don't just speak out of my ass. It'll be Nashville for the MBNA All-American Heroes 400. 102 laps from that race under the lights next week. But we'll catch you then. On behalf of Braden in the booth today, as well as Trey, we'll catch you then. And as always, have yourself a good one.
Remember to put $1 in a swear jar for saying ass.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
It's a long way to the top.